Hi guys, so today we're going to be doing lesson 5.3, which is all about the slope of a line. So there's a handout on Teams that you should print out and fill in as you watch this video. So at the top of the handout there in the box, it says key idea. And the first key idea of this lesson is that you can use the formula m equals rise over run equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 to calculate the slope of a line if you know the coordinates of 2 points on the line. So we've talked about this before. If you're given 2 points of a line, you can find the slope of that line using m equals rise over run, which equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we have talked about this before, but this is a refresher, and it's to kind of get it into your brain. So example 1 here says calculate the slope of the line passing through the following points. So I have A is 5, 3, and B is 7, -4. So I'm going to label these as x1, x2, and y1, y2. So my points are both x, y, right? So I'm just going to make this one number 1 and this one number 2. So this is going to be x1, the first x, and this is going to be y1, it's because it's the first y. This is going to be x2 because it's the second x, and this is going to be y2. Okay, so now I'm just going to grab these numbers here and plug them into this formula. So y2 is -4. So -4 minus y1 is 3. Divided by x2, which is 7, minus x1, which is 5. Now I have -4 minus 3 is -7, over 7 minus 5 is 2. So, given these 2 points, the slope of this line is -7 over 2, which is the same as -3.5. Therefore, the slope is -3.5. All right, the second key idea. If you're given the slope and 1 point of a line, you can determine an unknown coordinate of another point by 1, accurately graphing and using the rise and run, or 2, substituting the points into the slope formula and solving for the unknown coordinate. So, this is what that means. Example 2. Determine the value of k in point E given the following information. So if I have the point D, which is -1, -1, and the point E, which is 9, k, and then I don't know that number, and I know that the slope is 1/2. All right, so on a graph, I am going to start with this point -1, -1. So if I'm just going up by ones here, -1, -1, and I have to definitely go up to at least 9 on the x-axis because I know that that point is 9, something. So now using the slope starting at -1, -1, which is point D, using the slope, which is 1 over 2, and slope, remember, is rise over run, I'm going to rise and run 1 over 2 from D. So rise 1 and run 2. So my next point is there. Rise 1 and run 2. Rise 1 and run 2. Rise 1 and run 2. Okay, and then I'm going to connect those. That's going to be my line. So now I'm going to go up to 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Go up to here, and this would be point E. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so this is 4. So now I know that this point is 9, 4. And I figured that out using this point that I knew and the slope going up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2, until I got to 9, comma, what on this line was 4. So now I know that K equals 4. Okay, so that's one way to figure it out. But you need to be pretty accurate in your graphing. The other way to figure it out is number 2 there in the box, which says substituting the points into the slope formula and solving for the unknown coordinate. So my slope formula is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, so my points were D, -1, -1, E was 9, comma K, and slope, or M, was 1/2. So I'm going to label these as x1, y1, x2, y2. And now I'm going to fill in what I know from this information into this formula. All right, so I know M. That's different, but I'm going to fill it in. I know M is 1/2. So 1/2 equals y2, here is K. K minus y1 is -1, so minus -1 over x2 is 9 minus x1 is -1, so minus -1. So now I have 1/2 equals K plus 1, because minus minus is plus, over 9 plus 1 is 10. Okay, so I want to figure out what K is, so I want to get K by itself. So the first thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to multiply both sides by 10 to get rid of this 10 on the bottom here. So times 10 times 10. Now these ones will cancel out, so this side will be K plus 1, and this side will be 10 times 1 is 10, divided by 2 is 5. Now in order to get K by itself, I need to subtract 1 from both sides. So 5 minus 1 is 4, 1 minus 1 is 0, so 4 equals K. So now my point is 9, comma 4, which is the same thing that I found out over here when I did this using the graph. Perfect. All right, on to the next page. Example 3. A tub is filling with water at a constant rate. After 3 minutes, the tub is 7.5 centimeters deep. After 8 minutes, the tub is 15 centimeters deep. At what rate is the depth of water increasing? So I really have 2 coordinate points here. I have 3, 7.5, and I have 8, 15, right? Because after 3 minutes, the depth is 7.5 centimeters, and after 8 minutes, the depth is 15 centimeters. And they're asking me to find the rate. If you remember, rate is the same as slope. Rate of change, slope, rate of change. Does that ring a bell? All right, so now that means I'm going to use the slope formula, which is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I'm going to go back to those 2 points that I just came up with, and I'm going to label them as x1, y1, and x2, y2. Now I'm going to take that information, x1, y1, x2, y2, and plug it into this formula over here. So y2 is 15, minus y1 is 7.5, divided by x2 is 8, minus x1, which is 3. So 15 minus 7.5 is 7.5, divided by 8 minus 3 is 5, and 7.5 divided by 5 is 1.5. So that's my slope, which means that's my rate of change. Therefore, the depth is increasing at a rate of 1.5 centimeters per minute. All right, example 4. Determine if the following points are collinear. What does collinear mean? collinear means that these points will be on the same line. Okay? Collinear, same line. So the 3 points are J, -6, 12, K, 3, 6, and L, 12, 0. So in order to check if they're collinear, if they're on the same line, I'm going to check the slope between each set of points. If the slope is the same, then I know that they're on the same line. Okay? Because if I have these points here, I'll just draw a quick sketch. So -6, 12 might be up here, 3, 6, and 12, 0. I'm going to check, terrible line. I'm going to check now if they're on the same line. Okay? So J, K, L. So I'm going to check the slope between J and K. So I'm going to use that same formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I'm just going to label these as x1, y1, x2, y2. So y2 is 6 minus y1, which is 12. X2 is 3 minus x1, which is -6. Don't forget to do that minus negative. Okay, 6 minus 12 is -6. 3 minus -6 is the same as 3 plus 6, which is 9. So now I have -6/9, which is the same as -2/3. All right, so I know the slope of JK is -2/3. Now, I need to find the slope of KL. So if I call this one x2 and y2, I'm going to call this one x1 and y1. Do this one in red so that you can see. All right, so I need y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 equals 6 minus 0. X2 is 3 minus x1, which is 12. 6 minus 0 is 6. 3 minus 12 is -9, which leaves me with -2/3. So far, the same. I need to check one more, which is JL. Let's get rid of these for a minute. So x1, y1, x2, y2. y2 is 0 minus y1, which is 12. x2 is 12 minus x1, which is -6. Leaves me with 0 minus 12 is -12 over 12 minus -6, which is 12 plus 6, which is 18. -12 over 18 is the same as -2/3. Therefore, these points are collinear because their slopes are equal. All right, and that's it. So I hope that makes sense. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll talk to you soon.